Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back to Hall of Fame College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins. I'm here with my special guest from Unfair Sports, Eric Cooper. And if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of Hall of Fame College Football. Welcome into the show, Coop. It's an emergency show, in my opinion. I've been watching this go on for the last couple of days. Actually, yesterday morning, we talked about this a little bit. I had no idea that it had taken on such a life of itself that we are back in a quarterback controversy. Felt like I needed to get somebody in here to talk about it. Glad you're here. What are your thoughts about the game today? Obviously, it's a big, you got to get a win. This feels like a must win for Oklahoma. And going up against a tough defense that feels like they kind of have to have a win in this one as well in South Carolina. Let's talk a little bit about that game first, and then we'll get into this crazy talk about QB controversies.
Well, Jason, man, thanks for having me, man. I've been pretty silent this entire week, just across the board. Nothing super intentional. Jay and I went live on Sunday night, and then we, because of travel for him, we were going to go late Thursday night, and his plane got delayed, and so work, big boy job has kept me pretty busy all week. So I've had lots of time to think through this, and the hopium first is everybody on your schedule seems to have a chink in their armor still. At the beginning of the year, my big take for why I thought OU could go 10-2 was because of the fact that like you had what I saw was a continually improving defense that had a chance to be quite nasty. And I thought that we were going to have to muck up some games and, score 35, 40 points a game. Now, that's like half. Now you're hoping on offense to score 20, right? There's been twice where we haven't. And so, or three times, I guess, now that we haven't hit 20. And so my thoughts on the rest of the schedule is this, is that you've got everybody who has a chink in their armor. So like, I do agree with you that I feel like this is a must win for this staff. And not only because of just the rankings, like, listen, are we competing for an SEC championship or, a playoff run? Like, no, those dreams, you just toss those dreams out. Like, can we still make it? Yes, but let's not even go there yet, because at this point, this is kind of like you're coming out of non-conference. Going into the Tennessee game, we know about the same amount as we did then. That Tennessee isn't terrific. Listen, man, credit to Texas, what they did the other day. They came with a really, really good defensive game plan. Sure. Jay brought it up. It's what Michael Van Buren did to them to get anything. They basically, negated that. And so I just, I think this is, man, I still think this team has a championship level defense, but at this point today, you have to see progress. You got to see progress, and Jay is calling me right now, so I would bring him on, but that's I don't know what he's doing. He's trying to explain something to me, but you got to see progress. So what do you need to see is, this is not a quarterback issue, Jason. This is, I mentioned it, is like when you have, let's go with the people down in Florida and South Carolina and everything like that with their houses destroyed. Mm-hmm. If you were going to go help them out, there's so much wrong and so many things that are wrong. It's like, where do you start? Well, I still think that, like, now with the offensive line, are they good? No, we didn't think that they were going to be good. We thought we just need them to be serviceable. So right, now right, I think that we're going to see some switches today again. I think that you're going to see Sexton at left tackle. You're going to see Ozida at at left guard. I think we're going to see Troy Everett at center, Fabici Wewu at right guard, and Jake Taylor at right tackle. You need them to be serviceable, because once you have that piece kind of locked in and you've got that one, as that's not an issue. Is it great? No, but they just need to not be an issue. So once you got that one kind of taken care of, now it is, from an offensive play calling standpoint, we will never, ever, ever be able to fix any of this freaking offense, Jason, if we play the game within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. If you don't, I mean, we did it, played 3 against Texas. You throw a deep ball to Hester. That's it. That was it for the rest of the game. No more. Yeah. You can't do that, because if you do not threaten them, they will not back off the line of scrimmage. And they are sure as hell are not scared of our running game. So you're already not scared of the running game, and now you're playing with 8 or 9 guys in the box. So from a play calling standpoint, this entire team right now is their own issue. Everybody is their own issue. You call a play call, maybe it's a great call. Somebody runs a wrong route. Somebody just absolutely whiffs on a freaking block. That shit has to stop, Jason. It has to stop. Like, you got to at least do your damn job in front of you. If you have a block lined up for you and you whiff on the damn block, or you don't even recognize what you're supposed to block, that's the issue. And so from a player standpoint, you got to do your job. And then if you say you've done your job, the offensive line has done their job, you run your routes, and then it still looks like shit, now we know, okay, it is the offensive coordinating. It is the scheme.
Sure.
And you know, up and down the staff, no matter what is said out loud, you know that this staff knows that things aren't good. And so do these guys have complacency, and do they want, Jason, I was saying to you in the green room, yeah, this is rant 1. But I was saying to you in the green room, Jason, that if like at this level of football, if you can't scheme one God blessed guy open,
right,
you should not be playing this level of football, because it means one of two things. Either you have done a shitty job coaching, or you did a shitty job recruiting. And there are too many guys on this team that were highly recruited by every team, every big boy team. It's not like we were winning guys over Montana State and Alcorn State. Like these were guys who were looking at Georgia, Texas, Alabama, all the big names. Of course. And so if you can't scheme one of these guys open, that's on you as an offensive staff. Right. And then if you can't, I mean, listen, I know that it's hard. I really do. But yeah, and Topher, you are 100% right. The penalties. We used to see it and penalties have never been something that we've really freaked out about on offense, because we had such high firepower that it's, we had, we had such high firepower on offense that it kind of turned it into like, yeah, you know what? If you do a false start, no big deal. But there's absolutely no reason why you should have back-to-back penalties right before you're trying to punt. There's no reason why you should be an offensive tackle with snap on snap on snap of experience, and you're backing out early. The holding calls, if you're going to hold to not have, it's when you hold to make sure that you don't get the quarterback planted, I'm okay with that. But when you hold away from the play side for no reason at all, yeah, like that, those are the things where you're like, man, you just got to have to know the nuances better. And maybe they don't. Maybe because everybody's been hurt, it's just like, hey, I'm just happy to effing be here right now. I'm not sure. But for this game, what you absolutely have to see is give this fan base, I mean, at this point, Jason, 13-12 win, we take it, right? We just need a win. It does not matter. We're past 65-0. Like, we're past that. But from the offensive standpoint, you just need to make sure that your defense doesn't have to play to win the game. Like, your defense goes out and just do the job.
All the points for you too. Yeah.
Yeah. And I brought it up is You heard it on the broadcast that Brent Venables, he said, at this point, like, we need to get a turnover. We need a score to keep this thing to stay in this game. And you can't play that way as a defense because those things will come naturally by you doing your job. And so you have to do that. If you continue to do the shit that you're doing on offense, then your defense has to press. Then what happens is everybody's trying to run around like a bat out of hell and not playing assignment sound football. So it affects both sides of the ball. So yeah, I mean, that's it. Is this today? This offense just has to absolutely look like there's something going on with some kind of game plan, some kind of scheme. Like when I'm out coaching my daughter's 9-year-old soccer team and girls are just swinging their foot at the ball with no intention, it lights me up. So I'm just like, what the guys, like, that's all we talk about. But there's a difference between 9-year-old girls and 19-year-old men, 20-year-old men, 18-year-old men who are playing this at the highest level of college football. Have a fucking plan. That's all I'm saying. Right. How are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm glad you're ranting this away because I got to tell you, I feel the same way. And here's where I'm at on it. We talked about this a lot this week too. I mean, it's been ad nauseum, and for the love of God, Sooner Cowboys, hush, please. You're killing me here. We understand what's going on here. We see it. Everybody sees it. We all know what's going on. But this idea that all of a sudden a couple of weeks on the bench is gonna help Jackson Arnold become the guy that we wanted him to be, but he wasn't even doing that against Temple or Tulane. I mean, he had a good game against Tulane at times, really good in the first half, but he sputtered again. There's so many times that we've had to watch this, and look, you and I were both taking up for Jackson all the way. We were saying you got to give him time. You got to let him make his mistakes. But the first half of the Tennessee game, that was over. When you're doing things outside of the play call,
yeah,
and throwing balls, turning over the ball. I mean, look, the interception that he threw was just almost as egregious because he threw it with confidence, didn't even look at them, streaking over the middle.
It was like a movie. It was like a movie trying to
waited another 3 seconds and thrown it, and that's a touchdown. There's no way that if he just hits the right guy, that's good. The fact is, and then you have the fumble. Look, I think a lot of it has to do with play calling as well. We talked about this a lot during this week. This is the fucking game plan that you came up with, and with 2 weeks. I understood maybe trying to add a few things that, go to a little more air raid versus veer and shoot, whatever. Okay, RPO stuff. We still saw a lot of RPO last week, but the sprint draw concepts, I didn't understand because a lot of moving parts there, and all it did was get a really good, a defensive line that I didn't know was good. It was that good. They were all over Hawkins all day, and you had too many things that you had to read. In the end, look, I'm not telling you that I don't think that I'm not even trying to bash Jackson Arnold. I don't think it's all Jackson's fault either. I think a lot of the things that have happened this season is just piss poor planning in the end. Where I'm worried about this is that I feel like I understand that everybody wants to believe Jackson, that he's going to come back, that he's here and he wants to stay here. He has every reason to say those things, Coop. Every reason in the world to say it. He's got a nice fat NIL deal. As long as he's in Norman, he gets to keep it. Plus, he looks like the good soldier, still involved in the game. And look, and I'm not saying he's not.
It's better. Yeah, it's better than the opposite, Jason. And so I give him props for that. But
no doubt,
I mean, those are nuances of coaching nowadays, which is probably why Saban's ass is on game day right now. I mean, those are probably the situations because, listen, you got to. What to quote the Bible, it says, "Let your yes be yes and your no be no." But like, you got to believe what someone is saying, right? But it's better than someone who, you know, says, man, I'm all in, I'm committed to this team. And then with no reason bounces and goes and commits to somewhere that is ridiculous. Like those situations are, you know, those are different. But yeah, Jackson is doing the right thing. Cause I said, I personally,
right.
I personally, Jason, I am out on anybody who does this in the middle of the season. I don't care. I don't care if it is the best player in college football. They bounce out in 4 games into the season and say, I'm redshirting and hitting the portal. We can't talk to them anyway.
Right.
So you're basically going, I'm watching out for me. And why is that going to change? Why is that going to change if they come here? So no, I'm out on that stuff immediately. I don't care. But yeah, no, I'm he's got to say the good things, and I'm happy that he is. And you know what? I think he really does want to be here. I think he wants his chance back. I think, but see, you know, now if I'm Jackson Arnold, I'm like, you know, there's some of him that's like, all right, I learned my lesson. You know, see, it's not just me, but at the same time, like
he wants to atone. I think he wants to atone for the way that he played early in the season. I mean, who wouldn't? He's a competitor. I'm not even bad mouthing Jackson, man. I'm not. What I'm telling you is that I think that you could. The one way that you can make this worse is because Venables has doubled down and doubled down and doubled down. He even talked about that he gave him the opportunity to redshirt and go on, right? And to be fair to Jackson, he has completely, you know, he has done the absolute right thing. He's stayed engaged. He's stayed ready. He's been helpful, you know, with Michael Hawkins and what he's trying to do, right? But I would just say that in the end, there's no way you keep a 5-star around that isn't sure he's going to get the job, right? Isn't sure he's going to get the job because he's still got to battle it out with a kid like Hawkins, who already took the job from him once. And look, in the end, like I said, you've got in 10 quarters of play, Michael's turned the ball over 1 time with a fumble. And look, you know, you can say what you want, but I mean, in less than a half, Jackson did that 3 times against Tennessee. I don't know what it helps you to do this right now. I don't know what it helps you to make this move right now. What it could do is now you've alienated 2 quarterbacks and you're going to go with a freshman again next year. Or you got to go hit the portal and find somebody yourself because your 2 guys are in the portal. We're back in the same situation we were in Venables' first season. And this is not how I think that right now, what I was going to get at, and I wanted to ask you what you think. I think that his legacy at this program all hinges on the decisions that Brent Venables makes right now about this quarterback and about this offense. They've got to find a way. They don't have to go to 50 points a game all of a sudden. What they have to do is be serviceable, not turn the ball over, but score some damn points.
It just look competent, Jason. It's competent. Man. Like it's not. You know, listen. If I was the coach of the staff, like my number one is, guys, I don't give a shit what happens from this point forward. We need to make sure that we are never in 2nd and 10, 2nd and 12, 2nd and 14, because I think Gabe and Teddy said it is like the moment that this offense gets a penalty, it just feels like, I mean, Elzinga is just getting ready. Like when I was at the Texas game, like every single time out, both Keltner and Elzinga are out there working out. And I know that that always happens. You got to stay loose, got to stay ready. But it's like, it just seemed like that loomed like comical to me. It just looked, because it's just like, oh, Elzinga is, I mean, listen, we said, oh my God, we're Iowa. I think we're freaking worse than Iowa was a couple of years ago.
I know, man. I know.
It's worse. The defense is better, but the offense is worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, that's the thing and that's what's frustrating for all of us fans, I think, guys. And we're not going to do this for long. I just wanted to talk because I am sitting here trying to put a video out, and I was like, I got to talk to somebody else and at least bounce it off of each other. Because to me, this is where I'm at. I just don't want to see you completely, guys, to think that they don't have good recruits is crazy talk. That we got to remember that the wide receiver situation still not very good. Still not very good. You've got a bunch of young guys that are learning on the fly. That doesn't mean they can't get better. But you have to have some kind of continuity in order for this to all work together. The one thing we know is we've seen Michael Hawkins go out there and make plays. He's put his body on the line. He hasn't put the ball in jeopardy. He did put it on the ground against Texas. Okay. You know, they were in the midst of 9 straight 3-and-outs too. And that isn't just because of them. I think that there was a lot of things that left to be desired with that game plan. Teddy was talking about, or Gabe was talking about it on the Oklahoma breakdown of how you've got to be stacking plays off of a base system and they've been running the same thing. Even if you hate it, they've been running the same thing for the last 3 years. So to now go and switch all this up but you only got a couple of plays like that, they're going to see a good defense like Texas is going to see it after the first time. So I would love to see them just get really good at 5 or 10 plays. I think Eddie Radosevich was talking about that earlier this week too. I love that idea. Just really get proficient at that, run it out of some different looks, but they'll know exactly what they have to do. Make the blocking schemes a little easier and just cut back on the reads that Michael Hawkins has to make, because you know what? If it's a sandlot game, he's probably going to kick your ass in it. That's just the way I feel about it. Well, you got to find a way to get some points on the board. But I don't think that I feel like if Brent Venables makes that move, that it feels like a lot of people are pushing him to make. I heard it from who was it? Oh man, I gotta remember now. Shoot, I had it up here. But anyway, the guy from 247, and he was talking about, I think if you go into the half and you only got 3 points and you're down, you got to make the switch, and then you got to stick with Jackson Arnold. What?
Well, here's where was it Colin Kennedy?
No, it was oh man, I got it right here. I've got the video. In fact, you know what? Let me pull it up here. In fact, I want to share it real quick. It's
while you're saying that, here's where I go is my criticism.
That's Callaway, who it is.
Callaway. Okay, my criticism for Hawkins during Texas was that it just looked like he was unwilling to.
If the offense it looks exactly the same as it did against.
Go ahead. Finish.
I was just gonna say, like, it's I just was more along the lines of, like, if Hawkins was just looking to not make a mistake, not throw the ball away, not put it in harm's way. And I just think this is the moment that you start letting this controversy and the potential for moving back and forth. Now that takes that option away too, because now guys are going to not want to do anything that's going to get them back. Listen, man, I'm okay if we've got a second
shoulder is never a good thing.
If we got a 3rd and 13 or a 3rd and 20, something like that, everybody's like, well, everybody knows you're going to try to go deep. Well, shit, at this point, Jason, go deep. Nobody's going to expect you to go deep with this team at this point. I don't care. You've got Brennan Thompson, you've got Reagans, and you've got Hester. Those are all 4-4 faster guys. Dude, let it rip. Send verticals. Run a freaking Hail Mary. You know why?
The whole thing is you have to do it, man. You have to do it. And the reason you have to do it is because until you do, you're going to have 8 guys in the box.
Yeah, more. You literally are not going, because we're running so much 12 personnel.
And everybody else is coming, baby. You know what I mean?
You're running so much of the personnel with the multiple tight ends in there, and everybody is. We saw the rub route against Auburn. We haven't seen that yet. Again, I mean, it worked minus a bad acting job. So I mean, try it. The goal is you got to do something, and I don't think like. I literally, after I think I said this in the green room, if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. But like I watched the first quarter multiple times. I started over. And I was just watching the first quarter. And outside of just bad play by the individual people, there were some really good things in that. Now, you can't piss down your leg the rest of the game. You can't do that kind of stuff. I mean, you got to go. But I mean, this literally, and I saw somebody put it in there. At this point, I would rather have Lincoln Riley's soft Charmin offense and a defense, because at least we could score the ball. and the defense could, accidentally get off the field every once in a while. And so, no, yeah, it's because here's the thing: is your offense is incompetent, your defense will quit being as good as they are.
Yeah, listen, we saw it last week. Eventually, the dam was going to break. Let me go. I'm going to go ahead and push this in there, and then we can finish up after this.
Offense, it looks exactly the same as it did against Texas in the first half against South Carolina tomorrow. It is looking back at Jackson Arnold on the table for you, or are you just full speed ahead with Michael Hawkins Jr. the rest of the year?
I do think that the conversation should be being had of going back to Jackson Arnold. I'm okay with Oklahoma electing to stick with Michael Hawkins. I do think he's done enough to still have the gig. But like you said, I think if we go through the first half tomorrow and Oklahoma still hasn't found the end zone, they're down 10-3. I don't know. We'll say. I think you got to go back to Jackson. I really do.
I'm just going to stop it here for a second, but. If we get to the first half and they still look exactly like they did against Texas, how the hell is that on? How are you not looking at Seth, Joe John, and Brent Venables himself?
There's I know I always bring up movies, but in the movie Armageddon, we got the computer guy. He's there drilling out his stuff, and he's shutting down the thing. And the army walks up and is like relieves him of duty. He says, "Sir, your computer," and has the guy stand up and leave. And somebody sits down in his space and starts doing his work. If it looks like that at halftime, that shit needs to happen. That absolutely needs to happen. Somebody needs to go over there. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Kevin Johns. I don't care. Hell, I don't care if it's Gary Murdoch. Like,
if there's no change from last week after the whole week of practice and they look exactly like they looked last week, then what the hell have you been doing in practice this week?
It's and I'm hey guys, and I'm not. I hope Kevin Durant stubs his pinky toe right now, and I hope Lincoln Riley. I don't know.
Lincoln's getting what he needs.
I don't want Lincoln Riley back. I'm just saying this is at this point, like, at least with an offense that can score and a just piss poor defense, you still had a ball game. Like, we're not even in most of these games. Like the Tennessee game, I said that I thought, and I told a lot of people, I had Jason sitting in Magnolia Beer Gardens. I had a dude hand me a $100 bill after talking to him about just a lot of recruiting stuff and team stuff. And he was just like, dude, I pay for this stuff. I told him, I said, today against Texas, we will find out if Hawkins started or came in earlier against Tennessee, would we have won that game? And now I can say this.
You didn't run the same things. It wasn't, you didn't let him go do what he was good at. I felt like
it was offensive staff. It was offensive play calling.
Absolutely. And I think that's what Connor McManus is saying right there. He said, I think once Mike came in and it seemed to have calmed the storm, I believed it was Jackson. Now that Mike has gotten worse, I don't know how much worse he got necessarily. That's what the point I'm trying to make is we're immediately I've seen a bunch. It's been in the comment section all week of he ain't it. The same shit we were hearing about Jackson early in the year. That it's not him, he's not ready, blah, 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 and he's just not the guy. Wait a minute. Before Saturday last week, we all thought he was the guy because of what we saw in the Auburn game. We felt everybody should have seen that it was a play calling thing. They weren't turning him loose. They weren't allowing him to throw the ball down the field. Coop just said it about this one. They missed that first throw to J.J. Hester by a little bit. It wasn't by much. He almost got that. Why do you never go back to it? And it doesn't even necessarily matter if you complete it all the time. You got to keep throwing it, because if they don't believe you're going to throw it down the field, they're never going to guard it. They're never going to cover it. They're just going to keep everybody in the box. This is not a Michael Hawkins problem, guys. And he's not going to be perfect as a true freshman. What you have in him, though, is the ability to be dynamic. This is definitely on the coaches. And I think that Coach Venable's legacy is going to hinge on what happens with this offense, whether it's next year or whether it's now. But if you start waffling on the fact that you've been convicted about the fact that you're ready for this kid to play, you pulled your 5-star guy that everybody wanted you to keep in, all the boosters, blah, 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 that are invested in him, you pulled him out. You did it for a reason. If you go back, you look completely incompetent. You look like you don't have conviction in what you believe and what you see in this kid. And I don't think you can afford to do that. Plus, you lose him, I would think. Don't you think?
Well, yeah, because here's the thing is it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Coach Ricks, I agree with what you just said there too, by the way. But if every single elite quarterback sometimes needs to catch a rhythm, and it is like, it doesn't matter if it was Peyton Manning, if it's Tom Brady, if it's, Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck, all these guys, when you start running into stuff to where you're not seeing success, you always hear it on the broadcast. What needs to happen? Well, you need to get him back out there and get him in a rhythm so that he can have a flow and a feel of the game. It is hard. That's why in baseball, that's why being a closing pitcher or a guy out of the bullpen is tough, because you got to go from sitting down, being relaxed, not in the game, to come in and having your best stuff, your absolute best stuff right there is. And so that's what you got to do is, at this point, after 3.5 games, we pulled Jackson Arnold, and straight out of my mouth, it says, we had to give him a chance to fail publicly.
Sure.
And I was okay with it. Well, now through 6 games, we have seen Joe John Finley and Seth Luttrell fail, and everybody has too. Everybody in the nation has seen these guys fail. So why are they not getting held to the same standard?
Right.
And listen, if it's about feelings, I don't give a shit about your feelings. I really don't. Like, this is a business.
Yeah.
There's millions of dollars, going everywhere. This is a business now. And at no point, if I can't do my job effectively, if I take over a job and I have a budget to hit, I do at USA Today. I got a budget to hit. And if I'm going out there and my budget,
you're out on your ass.
If my budget's $350,000 a month and I look up in the middle half of the year and I'm at $1,200, somebody's going to be like, all right, well, guess what? It's not you. It's us. No, it is you, but it's us that's making this change.
Yeah, exactly. Look, man, it's everything in the world. And look, man, you came to the SEC, the elite conference, and you're not. All you really did was switch the problem from one side to the other. It was, we can go through this. It was a lazy hire stuff, all this blah, 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 and what you need to do moving forward. He's not going to fire these guys in the middle of the season. I think that's clear, right? What you have to do now is focus in on what can you do? What can you do to make this better? And I feel like as a fan base, the people that are clamoring for Jackson Arnold right now, what is it? Did you just forget what happened in the first 4 games? Because he never looked comfortable, ever. And he wasn't playing against SEC defenses. He was playing against Temple, Tulane, and Houston the first 3 weeks, and he wasn't great then. So, had a pick 6, but how many interceptions did he have in the first few games? Another couple anyway.
Did he have? Let's see here. He had one. The Tulane one. He had.
Yeah.
Did he have one against Houston too?
It feels like he did, but anyway, at the very least, he has 4 turnovers, and
it was not even that. I mean,
in one quarter, 3 of those were in one half of football, not even a full half of football against the SEC talent, and you haven't seen that coming from Michael Hawkins. You got to turn the kid loose. That's what I feel like you have to do. Turn them loose, let them go play. Simplify the game plan a little bit and just let him go be a player, because hero ball will work. It will work in college football. We've seen it, especially if you can throw it as well. If you don't let him throw the ball deep, then you're in for this for the rest of the year too. But I don't feel like A quarterback change is what you should be looking at right now. And that's the end of what he was saying here is he was saying that conversation.
And I will say this, if they do that though, you need to stick with it. I'm not a fan of the musical chairs thing, and I don't.
Not a fan of the musical chairs, but we want to play musical chairs one more time, and then we want to leave Jackson in there. I feel like at this point, whatever you get is what you get. You're not going to get these guys better if you don't let somebody settle in. If Hawkins feels like the hook is coming at any point, how are you going to play well like that? How are you going to play free like that? You guys want him to be aggressive? Tell him it's his job for the rest of the way. That's what you have to do. To me, I mean, I don't know if you need, we don't even really have to hear the rest of this, but
no, yeah, like I mean, it's time. It's how does this end for each individual? Because I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, from what I'm hearing is money galore is ready for the transfer portal, but that's a one-time shot because I don't think that the boosters are going to continue to put up this type of money.
Sure.
If for this type of product, this is not what they want. They're fans too. They are fans too.
Absolutely.
And
well,
and so if
nobody that has money that they can put, I mean, they're obviously good businessmen that for a reason. You don't back a horse that isn't going to make you money. You don't make investments that don't make money if you're that guy. So you're not going to keep dumping money into a bad investment. You just don't do it. This is where you get paid. If you're Brent Venables, you got to make the tough decisions. They brought you in here to be, and that's the other thing that I've said. It's easy for us to sit here and talk about Seth and Joe John. It's easy for us to talk about whoever you want. But in the end, Brent Venables has to become a head coach and go out there. And you know what? Your insight into what a defense is doing is very valuable for a quarterback, very valuable for an offense. There's no two ways around that. You have to have you have to be as focused and as detailed on what you're doing offensively as you have been on the defensive side. You've got the guys on the defensive side. They don't need you over there at practice. You need to stay your ass in the meeting rooms for the receivers and everybody else, and you got to find it. You got to find it, and you can't. I don't think quarterback changes the way, man. I just don't think that's what it is. I think that they have to find something on offense that works and actually build an identity, because right now they don't have it. That's the problem. I think you could go win this football game today. I don't even think it's going to take a whole hell of a lot on offense to go win this football game today. They don't do great on offense, and they turn the football over. Guess what? Our defense is great at turning people over. That's a recipe for a win if you can put up 21 points. You're almost for sure winning if you put up 21 and your defense plays anywhere close to what it's been playing.
And here's what I'm saying too, Jason, and this might be the last piece, is our defense has not played a bad game yet. No. And that's what terrifies me.
They can't have one bad play or else they get jacked with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what terrifies me is if the defense comes out and throws out, you know, a tough day. You know, against Texas, they started pressing.
Wow.
I mean, they started the game, and we started the game, you know, midfield for the first two drives on offense. One because of a turnover, and one because defense got another 3 and out. And so they can't continue to do it. It's going to be bad, because if the problems continue, you're going to, I mean, there's a legit shot that you see, you know, a 55-65 to, you know, 3 game at the end of the year when Alabama comes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no doubt. Yeah, you've got to do something quickly. And the one thing we know, look, I still believe that this team, because of the defense, can be in every game. I don't disagree with what Brent's saying. Bagman, you're not necessarily wrong. Are we going to give BV until his contract to learn how to be a head coach? No, they're not. No, they're not, because of what we just talked about. Mm-hmm. There is a concern there. This is what we've talked about a lot. But Coach talks about this, that, look, it's a learning curve, but at some point you got to get ahead of the curve. And you can't tell me that Brent doesn't know how to do it, because how detailed his game plans and everything are on the defensive side of the ball, don't tell me you can't get just as involved. I've always said that I didn't like the autonomy part of, between the offense and defense. I still don't. You don't have the right coordinator. You haven't. Even with Levy, you didn't have the right coordinator to give him autonomy. You didn't. You certainly don't now. You got to you have to be the CEO and run and make sure that it's going the way that, and be just as detailed as you are on the other side. Until you do, it's just gonna be you're chasing your tail. And I hate to see it. I love these guys, and I want to see. I think that Brent Venables is the guy. I do think he's the guy. I think at some point you have to go ahead and bear that out.
Yeah.
You have to bear it out. And I think that, look, maybe it's not this year. The truth is they still only have 2 losses. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that they can go through and still get to 8 or 9 wins if they can just be a little better offensively.
Yeah.
Again, I don't see a juggernaut coming in here that we got to get in a shootout with them.
No. But you need something, because next week is not going to get easier.
No, Ole Miss next week.
So
the road game, Ole Miss, tough offense. You're not going to hold them forever.
And a good defensive line with Walter Nolan, and he will.
No doubt.
So,
no doubt. And they're going to be hungry too, because they've already lost 2 games. They don't have, but I think that you're going to have the right game plan defensively. I just want to see you do more on the other side. That's all we can really ask for. And look, I just wanted to kind of get your opinions on this. I'm of the opinion that that's not the direction that even the fan base should be asking for right now. What's below?
I'm just Jay's in here. No, guys, listen, I've been extremely busy this week, and everybody's wondering if I'm pissed off at them. No, I'm not. I
thought you were mad at me a little bit. Yeah, I was like, holy shit, man, I can't even get him on the phone.
No, listen, man, it's all good. No, I love everybody. Let's go out, and
it's a tough week.
We now got 8 minutes, and it's time to watch something. And I didn't have crimson colored glasses, when I made my prediction at the beginning of the year.
No,
but I just also didn't see every damn person on offense being hurt.
Nobody could have foreseen what has happened as far as the injuries and everything like that. I don't think that was foreseeable. And I still think that they have a good football team. The fact that they've only lost 2 with all those injuries ought to tell you something about this staff as well. It really should. And the talent that you have. The bottom line is there's still talent on the offensive side, but when they're all having to learn it together, you don't have any veteran presence, really, no leadership on that side of the ball. Inherently, you're going to be a leader if you're the quarterback, but it's got to. I think that Hawkins has stepped up in certain situations. You need to go ahead and turn him loose now. Let him be aggressive and figure it out, man. I think OU finds a way. I think OU finds a way, man. I really do. But I'm concerned.
Hey,
no doubt about it.
I'm going Missouri today. Missouri is the show me state. You got to show me. And not picking Missouri. Screw those guys. They still give me hope for another win this year.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. And you know what? Sometimes, one game, you can turn it on a dime, man. You really can. We've seen it happen before. Momentum is a bitch. If you can just get that one, I mean, look, if we can't beat Beamer, who they find a way to lose, man. Go find a way to win.
Yeah.
That's all we got to do.
Take advantage of the opportunity.
Hey, you will have them. You know you will. So, Coop, man, thank you for coming in. I don't know if we really made a ton of sense, but we ranted, and at least maybe you feel a little better from it, yeah?
Hey, it's all good. And yeah, so I'll talk with Jay. If Jay and I don't do an after I've got a wife who's got a birthday party thing tonight, but
yeah,
hopefully we got good stuff to talk about.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I'm trying to get with K. Chris for after it, but I've got to be at the newspaper here for a little while as well. So I'll be watching it while I'm working. Hopefully get out of there pretty quick. I got most of it done last night. So we're definitely, look, man, excited. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. It was a last-second thing for us to do this, and I appreciate everybody coming in and venting it all out and getting it all out there. We do trust and believe in this team, but you do have to show us at this point. I think you have to show us at this point. It's fair. Anything else?
Let's go.
All right, man. Thanks a lot for coming in, everybody. We will see you tonight. We got at least a couple of shows. We'll see you tonight. Have a good one.